Hey guys, what's up? I am back with another video about my experience so far with my husband being in basic training. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, there's a couple videos before this that talks about a few things, where my husband is, what he's doing, just a little bit of information. There's also a couple videos with us together before he left. They were filmed quite a long time ago, but either way, you can check those out if you're interested. And if you're not and you just want to watch the information in this video, then just go ahead and keep watching. So today we are going to talk about what you should expect as a spouse, mom, father, girlfriend, sister, brother, anybody who has somebody going to basic training, basically. So, to start off with, obviously, they're gonna go to MEPS. They're gonna go through the whole process of doing their last official swear-in, and family's invited to that, and you can watch. And it's emotional because it's the last time you're gonna see them in person until graduation or family weekend or anything like that, unless you you can see them when you video chat. You might get the privilege of video chatting with them. That's not the case for everybody, but so they'll go to MEPS, they'll swear in, you'll say goodbye, and then a bus or a van or some kind of transportation comes and either takes them to the airport or just takes them to their base that they're going to be in basic training for. My husband personally, we live in Florida currently, and he went to basic at Fort Benning in Georgia, which is about 4.5, 5, 6 hours depending on how fast you drive and what way you take. So they drove him from MEPS in Tampa to Fort Benning, Georgia. They stopped, I think they stopped a little after the Georgia line, and they gave them like a little food voucher. They stopped at Golden Corral, I think, and they could eat whatever they want. They had to spend the voucher. So he did that. We were in contact all the way until he got to the base, I'm assuming. He left about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, August 19th, and he got to he stopped texting me around 9:30, I think was the last time we texted, between 9 and 9:30. So you probably can expect to have contact with them until they get to the base. I know I did. I had contact with my husband. I've heard stories about how some trainees, when they live further away, they fly them in, and then of course when you're flying, sometimes there's layovers, sometimes there's cancellations, whatever. So sometimes they ended up staying in hotels, and they had contact with them all through the night and the next day because they ended up getting delayed, and they didn't even get to Fort Benning, or not Fort Benning. They didn't even get to where they're supposed to be going to until the day after, so they were late, but they don't hold it against them, obviously. When they get to the base, there's some videos on YouTube that kind of show the process about what they're going to go through, and from what I've seen, they arrive and a drill sergeant basically gets on the bus, tells them to hold up their cell phones. Everybody holds up your cell phone, and then they tell you to turn it off and put it away. So they turn it off, they put it away, and then the drill sergeant goes on explaining the directions. Females are going to go here and do this, males are going to go here and do this, and then you're going to stand at attention or whatever. There's videos, if I can find it, I'll try and link it below if I can figure that all out. I've watched probably every video about basic training, trying to just ease my mind and see exactly what he's doing. So if you think that'll help you, I recommend it. So their phones are going to be turned off, put away. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have contact with them at all. I would recommend turning your phone ringer up so that you can hear it even if you go to sleep. Because I know I was trying to stay awake, kind of not. I was just like emotionally drained. So I ended up falling asleep. Even though I was having a really hard time falling asleep, I did end up falling asleep. And at like 1:45, my phone went off, and it was him telling me that he arrived, he was safe, he is in reception. They can write, but they cannot receive letters, which is because they're only in reception for a short amount of time. That's not their permanent address. So if you send a letter to them while they're in reception, they may be gone by the time it gets there because of how slow actual mail is. So there's no point in you sending it, whereas they can constantly keep sending mail out, and even if they're not there, you will still get it. So that was a little unexpected because he called me, and I assumed he was already at like basic training, and he told me, oh well, I can write but you can't write me. And I was like, for the whole time? Like, I can't write you at all? And I got like super sad or whatever, but said our last I love yous on the phone, and then that was it. His phone went off, and I assume he started getting yelled at and told to do push-ups from what I've seen. So, as I mentioned, they do not go straight to basic, which is kind of like a misconception. If you don't have any experience with the Army, or you never got the chance to talk to a recruiter with your trainee, they go to a place called reception. And basically reception is just a holding unit, kind of, where every trainee is going to go to start with. They're going to go there, they're going to basically sign in, do tons of paperwork, see the dentist, see doctors, see the eye doctor, get vaccines. They're going to get their uniforms, their boots, their photos. What else do they do? They learn how to stand in formation, from what I've heard. They learn the front leaning position. Basically like getting into push-up position, how you should be when they tell you to. Basically they get the brief idea of what they're getting into. Reception is where you make your last decision. Either you're going to push through and you're going to go through this and you're going to go through basic training, or you're going to quit now. There is basically no quitting once you start basic training. If you quit during basic training, where you're actually training to be a soldier, they're going to do everything in their power to keep you there as long as possible. Whereas if you're in reception and you decide, no, I don't want to do this, I quit, yeah, you're going to be there a little while, but you're not going to be there as long as if you were to quit in basic training. From everything I've read, everything I've watched, everything I've been told, that's how that works. So you really need to think about, like, is this what I want to do? If really, you should have already done that. And if you're at reception and you decide to quit, I would say that's still not the place to do it. You should have been thinking about it. But if you decide, or your training decides, that they are done, they don't want to do it, they change their mind, reception is the place to do it. Do not go any further, because they will make your life a living hell, from what I've heard. From everything I've watched, they don't like quitters, basically. So, once your trainee gets to reception, they will be there for a minimum of 7 days, typically a maximum of 10 days. Now, that kind of gets into like a little gray area. During summer months is what I'm hearing. They get kind of backed up because they have Just regular Joe Schmo walking into a recruiter's office and joining. And then they also have juniors and seniors from high school who are either graduating or they're in their summer before senior year, so they can go and do the split basic training. So you get a lot of regular people and then a lot of high schoolers who all go during the summer, and some of them come at the end of the summer. So if that's the time frame you're going, probably from like May, June, middle of June to it's almost the end of September, and I'm still hearing about people are backed up like 3 weeks. They're still in reception. So I would probably say middle of June, beginning of July to probably beginning of October, there may be a delay. And I see that a lot of people are being delayed specifically because they either have a medical condition they didn't disclose, that the doctors found, they don't have all their paperwork, or sometimes it's just literally because there's too many people and they can't ship them all out. So typically it is 7 to 10 days. Now the part that really sucks is those 7 to 10 to however long your trainee is in reception does not count. It does not count towards that 14 weeks or the 22 weeks or the 16 weeks. It doesn't count. Those are just added on days that nobody tells you about, which kind of sucks, but that's why I'm telling you, because it sucked to find out for me. I was thinking, oh yeah, well, I mean, look at this, we're already 10 days in, we're already 11 days in. No, we're not even 1 day in. So you gotta, whenever you're like looking at the calendar, basically I would say add 2 weeks onto whatever number they're telling you, and just have the mindset that it could be longer. I wish I would have went in with that mindset and that thought process, but I didn't. But I know now, so that's always good. So then once they're done with everything in reception and the drill sergeants and everybody's ready to ship your trainee out, I've heard that they either call the day before and the day that they're actually shipping, or they will call one or the other day, or there's always the option that they will not call you. It always, again, depends on the drill sergeant. Some drill sergeants are super nice and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to be easy on you while you're in reception, and then others are like, no, you're going basic training, we're going to be rough on you too. So, for my husband, he called the day before he shipped. He shipped on Friday, and he called Thursday afternoon around like 1:30. And then he did not have any information about his company or platoon or where he was going or anything, which is what you expect in that call, so you can send out your letters. He did not know, so I thought he would maybe call Friday. Sat around, waited all day Friday, no call. Sat around, waited all day Saturday, no call. And then Sunday, I sat around, waited most of the day. Then I went out of town, and there was no cell service. I talked about this in my last video too. There was no cell service, and I'm like 99% sure he tried to call, and I did not answer. So he may or may not have called. I haven't got a chance to ask him, but I think he was calling to tell me his company and platoon and everything like that. So I think technically I did get both calls, but I only answered one. So be on the lookout, and again, just have your ringtone or your ringer all the way up on your phone at all times as much as possible. I work in a school, so I do not get service most of the time. Sometimes I do. So when I have service, I have my phone out on my desk on vibrate, When I don't have service, then I just put it in my pocket, and if I happen to get service and I hear it go off, which most of the time never happens until I leave, but as soon as I get home or I get in my car, my ringer goes back up, just because if he's calling, it's probably for a good reason, meaning that he's done with a phase or that he did something good and he earned a call. So I don't want to miss his opportunity to tell me the good news about whatever. And I know you're not going to want to miss a call from your trainee if you haven't heard from them in God knows how long. So I just recommend to always have a ringer up, and it saves a lot of hassle. And then of course you get the hopes and you think it's him calling, and then you answer and it's some warranty collection thing. Along with the ringer, I also recommend maybe putting like a specific ringtone to your trainee's phone number. That way, in case they call, it's like a separate ringtone and you recognize it. That was recommended to me. So, since reception doesn't count at all, when in the world can you start counting down to when you're going to see your trainee? You can start counting down the day they ship. So, for me, my husband called on Thursday and told me that he was shipping on Friday. So, that Friday was the first day. So, that was the day I started counting down 9 weeks till he was done with basic training. That doesn't include his AIT, but I figured I would count down to the end of basic when I'm going to see him, and then start another countdown after. Basic is obviously 9 weeks. So after 9 weeks, there's typically a family day and a graduation. If your trainee is doing OSA, one station unit training, they are not going to have a graduation at the end of basic. Now, when some people heard this, they were like, oh my gosh, that means I'm not going to see them. No, you're going to see them as long as they earn family weekend. So instead of graduation, they have family weekend, which is the weekend that they would graduate basic training. They can have family check them out, and you can have them all day. They have to be back at a certain time, and you get to basically do whatever you want with them as long as they're in the range of whatever the parameter is that the drill sergeant sets. So it could be, oh, you have to stay on base, or oh, you have to stay within 20 minutes of base, or whatever. They're gonna send you a whole letter with like the rules and regulations of family day. Now, at the end of family weekend, you're gonna bring them back, say your goodbyes. We haven't got this far, but this is what I'm hearing happens. You bring them back, say your goodbyes, and then you start the countdown to the end of AIT. So if your husband or trainee is 5 weeks, or it's 10 weeks, you start counting down those weeks. And then if they're OSUT, they're going to have a graduation and a turning blue ceremony if they're infantry at the end of AIT. So that's when the big graduation happens if you're OSUT.
So we covered all that. I'm looking down at my notes, sorry. Really bad. I need to figure out somewhere else so that I'm not like looking down. It's really annoying.
First duty stations. This is a big question that I kind of had because obviously we got married so that I could move with him and live with him on or off base wherever we decide. So I've been asking him if he knows or anything. I just got a letter today from Sunday, so a couple days ago, saying that he was supposed to go to the computer lab on Monday to possibly figure out like soft orders of what his first duty station could be. So, and he is in the 3rd week of basic training. So as I'm editing this right now, he's in the last week of blue phase, and we still don't know his first duty station, so it could take longer. So that's pretty soon from what I'm hearing. Typically it's either like the 8th or 9th week of basic training, or the beginning of AIT, the middle of AIT, or some people never get orders until after they're done with the AIT. So I guess first duty station information can come really any time. So that's always kind of handy information, I guess. If you would like to know like the possible duty stations for your trainees MOS, there is a website. I think it's on Reddit. I will try and link it again down below. I just basically googled possible duty stations based on MOS. It was like the first one that came up. And you can look through and see your MOS code, or your trainees MOS code, and then it'll tell you continental USA locations, and then outside the continental USA locations based on the MOS. So really, unless they're getting deployed, I'm assuming what's on that list for the specific MOS is really the only places that that job goes to. I'm not 100% on that, but from what I've heard, that's how that works. I mentioned that you'll get a letter from the drill sergeants. This is called the commander letter. You should get this within I want to say maybe the first 3 weeks after they officially start basic training. The commander letter is basically going to be their company information, estimated graduation dates, family weekend dates, locations, addresses, how to address your envelopes, what is allowed, what is not allowed, what they expect of your trainee. And then later,
some companies do the extra commander letter. Ours personally didn't, but again, I was recording this too soon.
Again, you'll get that within the first 3 weeks. I got it, let's see, my husband shipped out to basic August 30th, and I got it September 6th. I got it the following Friday that he shipped. So it took me a week to get it. But again, I'm in Florida, he's in Georgia, so we're pretty close. So far our letters seem, well, his letters to me seem to take about 3 days to get. My letters seem to be getting to Fort Benning in about 3 days, but then of course it takes them time to sort it once it's on base. So he's averaging getting my letters every week, like once a week, because I just send a week's worth of letters at one time. So they will get your letters. The drill sergeants do not hold mail. They are not allowed to. That is illegal. What could happen is that the drill sergeant has to go pick up the mail. So they're going to take their sweet time picking up the mail if they want to. If your trainee's company or platoon is acting up, they're going to take even longer to go get the mail. But as long as it is not in their possession, they're not breaking any rules. As soon as they go pick it up and it's in their possession, and then they don't give it to you, then yeah, that's bad. But they aren't allowed to do that. They're not going to. So I know on some of the support groups I'm on, trainees are writing that the drill sergeant is giving them ultimatums. You have to do this, and then I'll go get the mail. That's more than fine. It depends on the drill sergeant, depends on what the platoon is doing, and if they're doing what they should be doing or not. Fortunately, my husband's platoon has not had an issue with mail so far. I don't know if that's just the drill sergeant thinks they should have mail, or they're just being really good. I'm not sure how that works. But also, while your trainee is in basic training, check and see if there is like a specific photography like company that takes photos of the trainees while they're doing different activities and stuff. I know Fort Benning has one for sure. I don't know about the other ones. That's the only one I'm confident.
I'm saying that they have one because I check it every day. I still have not seen a picture of them, but I do check it every day.
So just check and see if your trainee's base has a photography page that you can check. And
they call it Where's Waldo, so like you're checking to see if you can find your Waldo because they all look the same. I don't know. So there's that.
I think I covered everything about basic that you should know, but you wouldn't expect to find, or you may not find on the internet. All this is kind of just basically what I've figured out along the way. If you have any questions or comments or anything, you can always leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Probably within the day, most likely, because I have no life. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, concerns, or you just need somebody to talk to while you go through it, I'm always here. I'm always going to answer whatever's in the comments. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, you can go ahead and leave the recommendations in the comments, and I'll try and get to those. And if you want to keep up and see where this goes, go ahead and subscribe, I guess. I'm gonna say it's over here. I'm gonna figure it out, but I think it might be here. So if you want, you can hit the subscribe button, keep up with our journey, hit the like button if you like this video, and leave any recommendations down in the comments. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.